I couldn't sleep. You did this to me. You sent me up the stairs with one color behind my eyes. Every far galaxy arrives reddened, the whole sky, as if the heavens had decided to flee me. So, at some unholy hour, I dug out a party balloon, inked dots all over it. Galaxies, I told myself, and blew it up. And every dot fled every other dot, the far ones fastest. I turned it round, hunting for the middle they were all fleeing, and there wasn't one. And then my neck went cold. I wasn't holding the balloon, I was a dot on it.
Oh, Alice, you went up those stairs with a colour, and you came back down with a whole cosmos. Do you have the faintest idea what you did on your kitchen floor at that unholy hour? You reinvented the single most important picture in the entire subject, the one it took the cleverest people who ever lived, a very long time, and a truly enormous amount of stubborn arguing to be dragged to, hand over foot, complaining the whole way.
That sounds like a compliment with a very large but loading up behind it.
It is, because you've also done a dangerous thing. You've drawn me the answer before you've earned the question, and an answer you haven't earned is one you'll mistrust the moment somebody pushes on it. You'll draw your dots, and then some clever person will ask where the middle is, and you'll fold because you never fought for it.
Dangerous. George, it's a party balloon. There's a picture of a duck on the other side.
It is the most dangerous duck in the room. So put it down. Gently. We'll want it back before the night's out. Because that picture means nothing at all. Nothing until you know what we actually saw in the sky. The thing that forced us, kicking and complaining, onto a balloon in the first place. Let me take you to what we saw and make you feel the shock of it, and then, only then, you may pick your duck back up.
Fine. Balloon's on the table, duck side up so it stops staring at me. Go on then. What did we see up there?
Start further back than what we saw. Start with what you expected to see before anyone ever looked. Because the shock only lands if you first feel the expectation it broke clean in half. So, picture the whole universe. Every star, every galaxy, all the stuff there is, and whatever lies out past the last of the stuff. Now, is it moving? As a whole? Is the whole thing going anywhere at all?
No, surely not. It just sits there. It's the stage everything else happens on. The stars mill about on top of it, drifting a little, the way you taught me last season. But the whole thing? Moving? Moving where? There's nothing outside it to move relative to. It just is. It's the one thing that holds still while everything else fidgets about on top of it.
That's the instinct, and it's a fine, honest one. Hold on to it, because you're in tremendous company. That was Newton's picture, near enough. A grand, still stage, laid out flat and forever, the stars playing their little parts across the top of it, and the stage itself never so much as trembling. But let me poke it, because there's a worm curled up asleep inside it, and I very much want to wake the worm.
Go on then, wake your worm. What's wrong with a nice still stage?
You've a universe stuffed full of matter, and matter has a habit you know in your very bones. Every scrap of it pulls on every other scrap, reaches across the dark and tugs. What do we call that tug?
Gravity. Everything pulling on everything. The apple, the moon, me on this chair, the whole lot of it, all pulling all the time.
Everything pulling on everything, and nothing anywhere pushing back. There's no anti-gravity in the room, no great hidden spring holding the furniture apart. So take your lovely still universe, all that matter hanging there in the dark, every piece tugging on every other with never a push to answer it, and just leave it be. Walk away, let it alone a while. Come back tomorrow. What's happened to it?
It falls together. Oh, that's not good, is it? If everything's pulling and nothing's holding it apart, it can't just sit there being polite about it. It's got no right to sit still. The whole thing should be sagging inward, every piece drawing on every other piece, the entire universe slowly caving in on itself, collapsing down into one great heap, like a held breath that has to be let out in the end.
Like a held breath. So even before anyone lifts a single instrument to the sky, your cozy, still universe is already in a trouble it cannot talk its way out of. By the plain arithmetic of gravity, the very arithmetic Newton handed us, it should not be able to sit still. It ought to be falling in on itself this very instant, gathering speed as it goes. And yet, here we all are, not fallen in, not a heap, sitting about quite comfortably, discussing balloons.
So the universe is cheating. It's doing a thing you've just told me it isn't allowed to do, hanging there, holding its shape, when it ought to be collapsing on our heads.
It is cheating, and everyone could feel it cheating. And the pull to keep the sky still was so ferociously strong that even Einstein, when he first sat down to write the whole universe out in his own equations, found it falling together on the page, and reached for a way to prop it back up, to hold it still against its own weight. He wanted a motionless universe every bit as badly as you do.
Einstein propped the universe up by hand? That does not sound like a thing that ends well for Einstein.
It's a knot we'll spend a whole night untying, a long way down this road, so don't let me spoil it now. Tonight, just feel the shape of the thing. Everyone, from Newton to Einstein, straining to keep the sky standing still, because a moving universe was simply unthinkable. So the only question anyone asked was, which is it? Is the sky quietly collapsing on us, too slow to notice, or holding still by some rescue we haven't yet found?
Collapse or some clever rescue that keeps it standing. Those are the only two dishes on the menu.
The only two doors anyone thought to knock on. Cave in or stand still. And not one soul, for the longest time, had thought to draw a third door on the wall, because the third door was too strange to imagine before the sky forced it on us.
And I'll bet you the month's rent the third door is the one we go walking through tonight.
Keep your rent. You'll want it. But yes. Now to find that door, you can't merely squint harder at the sky and hope it confesses. You have to do the one trick this whole show is built on. You have to read the light.
Read the light? The light of what, though? A galaxy's a smudge, George. A faint little smear of glow, no bigger than a thumbprint on the dark. What in the world is there to read on a smear?
Far, far more than you'd ever dream. That smear is the massed light of a colossal city of stars, and starlight is not a smooth, clean wash of colour. Spread it out, fan it across all its colours, the way a raindrop fans sunlight into a rainbow arching over a field, and you find that rainbow ruled through with fine, sharp, dark lines. A pattern, sharp and particular, and always the same, like a barcode printed straight across the band of colour.
A barcode, printed in the light itself. But printed by what? Who's standing out there doing the printing?
The very stuff the stars are made of. And here's the first marvel of the night. Every element there is, the hydrogen, the calcium, the sodium sitting in the salt cellar on your own table, every single one, when it's made to glow, prints its own fixed pattern of lines. Always in the same places along the rainbow, always the same spacing between them. A signature you could pick out of a crowd of 1,000.
So each element's got its own handwriting, a little barcode that's just theirs and nobody else's in all creation.
Just theirs and never another's. Heat a particular gas in a jar, here on Earth, and it signs its own name across the colours in a line pattern you could swear to in a court of law. And now, the marvel that cracks the whole sky wide open. You take that light from a galaxy so far off the distance makes your teeth ache, and you find the very same signatures printed into it. The same barcodes. The hydrogen's hand, the calcium's hand, written into a galaxy on the far side of everything there is.
Oh, that's lovely, that is. That's lovely before you've even done anything with it. The same salt, the same hydrogen, all the way out to the very edge of sight. The whole universe scribbled cover to cover in one single alphabet.
One alphabet, cover to cover, and that alone would have been worth a season's wonder. But now comes the but, and it is the biggest little but in the whole story. You know precisely where each line in that pattern is meant to sit. You measured it in the jar, you've got it cold, dead to rights, no argument possible. So you look at the far galaxy, you find its barcode, and the whole pattern has slid. Every line shoved clean out of its proper place. All of them together, all by the same measure, all sliding the one same way. Toward the red.
Toward the red. The whole barcode. Dragged bodily up the colours, toward the red end of the rainbow. Not smeared, not scrambled, not blurred into mush. Slid. It kept its shape exactly and only changed its place.
It kept its shape and only changed its place. And you've just spoken the diamond of the whole night without knowing you held it. So hold it now. We come back to it, because a pattern that slides bodily without smudging has been stretched, not merely jostled about. A jostle scrambles the lines. A stretch slides the whole thing at once, keeping its shape. But feel the big pattern first. One galaxy, barcode slid red. The next one along, slid red. The next, red again.
And how far do you have to go before you find one that hasn't slid?
That's the thing. You go round the entire sky, galaxy after galaxy after galaxy, and near enough every last one of them has its handwriting hauled toward the red. And I want you to sit inside the way we learned that, because this is the true story of the night. Not a theory, not a hunch dreamed up in a comfortable chair. Someone actually went and did it. Galaxy by galaxy, night upon patient night, reading out the barcodes by hand and writing down how far each one had slid.
And going in, what would they have bet on finding? If it were me at the eyepiece with my notebook, what would I have expected to be writing down?
A jumble. That's what any sane person would bet. Some galaxies drifting toward us shifted a touch to the blue. Some drifting off shifted a touch to the red. A busy, meaningless muddle of coming and going, the way bees mill about a hive with no rhyme to any of it. That is exactly what a still universe, full of stars milling on a fixed stage, is supposed to hand you.
But that's not what came out of the notebook, is it?
It was not. Out came the reddening, near universal, the same wherever they pointed the thing. Not a muddle at all. A verdict. The whole sky all together, all sliding the one way. And you cannot imagine how unwelcome a verdict that was, or how long people squinted at it, hoping against hope it would turn back into a nice, harmless muddle.
Every one of them, all one way. That's my colour. That's the very thing I couldn't sleep on. So it's real then, properly real, written down in somebody's notebook.
Real and written down, and checked again, and checked a third time by people who badly wanted it to be a mistake. Now, what does red mean? Reach for the everyday version first, because it's the one everybody grabs for, and it's half right, and it will teach us beautifully by being wrong in its second half. You know the sound a fast thing makes as it tears past you. An ambulance. A racing car flat out on a track.
The wee-yow! High and keen as it comes screaming at you, and then it drops. The instant it's past, it sags right down low and grumbles off into the distance. I grew up by a main road. I could give you the whole orchestra, ambulances and lorries and the lot.
Please, I beg you don't. But feel what that drop actually is, underneath the noise. As the thing races away from you, each crest of its sound sets out from a spot a little further off than the crest before it. So the crests reach your ear spread apart, stretched long. And long sound is low sound. That sag in the pitch is nothing but the sound being stretched by the fleeing.
And coming the other way, toward me, it's the reverse. The crests bunch up short and tight, so the note climbs high and keen. Stretched long going away, squashed short coming in. All right, I've got the ambulance in my head.
And light plays the very same tune. A thing running away from you has its light stretched out long, and long light is red light. Red sits right at the long, low end of all the colours, the base note of the rainbow. So a thing fleeing you reddens, in the exact same way, for the exact same reason that a thing fleeing you drops its pitch. Red is the sound going low, only made visible to the eye.
So the red means running away. That's what the whole reddened sky is. The wee yow of the entire heavens. Every galaxy sagging its note because every galaxy's legging it away from… Hang on. Away from me? From us? Every galaxy in the whole sky is running away from us in particular.
That is exactly the reading the everyday picture hands you, gift-wrapped. Now, before I say a single word, say out loud how that makes you feel.
It makes me feel like we smell. It genuinely does. The entire universe, every galaxy, in every direction you care to point a finger, takes one look at us and bolts flat out for the exits. We are the one single spot in all of creation that everything else is frantic to get away from. We're standing dead in the middle of the least popular place there has ever been or ever will be.
The unpopular centre. Oh, cherish that, cherish it, because you've just marched, nose held high in the air, straight back through the oldest wrong door in the entire building. Can you hear it creaking on its hinges? The one door we bricked over an age ago and swore on everything we'd never open again.
Oh no, us, in the middle, everything in creation arranged around us and fleeing from us. That's the exact thing, isn't it? Putting ourselves smack in the center of the picture. We did that once. It took the human race centuries and a great deal of embarrassment to live it down, and I've just cheerfully walked us straight back in. Because the light went red.
Centuries to live it down, and here you are, ready to do the whole thing over again. And I don't blame you a single hair, because the red light seems to force it on you at knife point. Everything flees us, so surely we must be the centre it flees from. It is very nearly the only thing a sane person could conclude from that one clue alone. And it is wrong. But to see why it's wrong, you need the second clue. The one that takes this whole picture and turns it inside out like a glove.
Then hand me the second clue, quick, before I have to go out and apologize to the entire universe on behalf of how badly we apparently smell.
The second clue was hiding inside the first the whole time, folded up small. You don't merely note that each galaxy is red. You measure how red, exactly how far each barcode has slid from where it belongs. And then you do one more thing. You set that measurement down beside how far away the galaxy is.
And there, stop, right there, hold it. How do you know how far away it is? You keep saying far and further as if it were written on the side of them. A smear's a smear. One's dim, one's dimmer. How on earth do you turn a faint little smudge into an honest distance?
A fair challenge, and the answer is a candle trick, old as the hills. Suppose you know how bright a thing truly is, a candle whose flame you've measured, so you know its real brightness cold. Then how faint it looks to you tells you how far off it must be standing, because a flame dwindles in a way you can reckon, exactly as it walks away from you into the dark.
So you need something out there whose true brightness you're actually allowed to trust, not just, it looks dim, but I know how bright it really is, so its dimness becomes a ruler in my hand.
Precisely that. You hunt through a far galaxy for a particular kind of star that always burns to the very same strength wherever it's found. A standard candle, the same flame everywhere. And you see how faint that reliable flame looks from here. and the faintness hands you the distance, clean. And riding along inside that distance, there's a second gift, one you already met last season and rather loved.
Go on, what's hiding inside the distance?
The further off a thing sits, the longer ago its light set out to reach you. So you are never, ever seeing the far galaxy as it is, only as it was ages and ages back when that light first left home. It's old light. The night sky is a time machine. You knew that already. You carried it up the stairs weeks ago. Tonight I'm only welding a second truth onto the first. The far light isn't merely old, it is also stretched.
Old light and stretched light, both at once, in the same beam. All right, so now you've got two honest numbers for each galaxy, how red it is and how far it is. And you lay the two of them side by side on the page. What marches out at you?
The cleanest, most startling regularity in the entire sky. The nearer galaxies are shifted only a little, the further ones more. And the very furthest you can lay eyes on at all, their barcodes are hauled a tremendous long way toward the red. Nearer a little, further more, furthest most of all. Every single time without a galaxy stepping out of line.
So further away means more red. And you just spent a good while teaching me that more red means running away faster. So, putting the two together, the further away a galaxy is, the faster it's running from us.
The further away, the faster away. Twice the distance, near enough twice the speed of the fleeing. 10 times as far, 10 times as fast. It is a straight, honest, ruler-clean rule, and it holds right the way across the entire sky, in every direction you would ever dare to point.
No, hang on. That's a very strange rule. That's not how a crowd runs from a fire, is it? If everyone bolted from us because we smell, they'd each just bolt, every one of them as fast as their own 2 legs would carry them, and no faster. There'd be no tidy little arrangement where the folk at the back of the room happen to sprint faster than the folk right by the door. Why in the world would how far a galaxy is decide how fast it flees? Distance isn't a whip. The far ones can't even tell how far away they are.
And that, right there, is the crack the whole truth comes pouring through, if you'll only widen it. You felt it in your gut. The running away picture is broken. It gets the red exactly right, and it gets the far means faster completely, hopelessly, embarrassingly wrong. Because there is no earthly reason a thing's distance should set its speed. Not, at any rate, if it's a thing moving through space.
What do you mean, if? How else is a thing supposed to be moving, George? Getting further away is moving. That's what the words mean when I say them out loud.
And here is where I have to ask you the single hardest thing this whole subject ever asks of anyone. I need you to stop picturing those galaxies as moving through space at all. Not slow through space, not fast through space, not moving through space.
Stop, but how else does a thing get further away if not by moving? You've lost me at the very first step. Getting further apart is the definition of the word moving.
Is it though? Is it always? There is another way entirely for two things to get further apart, and you've had it in your own 2 hands your whole life without ever once noticing. Picture 2 ants standing dead still on a wide sheet of elastic. They don't take a single step, don't so much as lift a leg. They're having a nap. And I can still drive those 2 ants apart, as far apart as you please. Watch me do it.
Go on then. 2 napping ants. How do you shove them apart without either one of them so much as walking?
I stretch the sheet. I take the elastic by its 2 edges and I pull it wider. And the 2 ants sail away from one another, further and further, and neither one has walked so much as an inch. They are carried. They're fast asleep, and they wake up a room apart. It was never the ants that moved at all. It was the floor between them that grew.
The floor grew. So the galaxies aren't running through space at all, they're the napping ants. The space between them is being stretched, made more of, and they just sit there, half asleep, and ride it apart without lifting a leg.
They ride it apart, exactly like the ants. And now one clean line. And then I'm holding you to your promise not to make me build the whole machine up again from the bricks. Because you and I did that machinery together a whole season ago, all those long, curved universe nights. Space itself can stretch, and it does, and a wave of light caught out crossing stretching space gets stretched right along with it, whether it likes it or not.
I remember the machinery. I remember not enjoying the machinery, if I'm honest with you. It made my head hurt for a solid week.
You needn't enjoy it. It's earned, it's paid for, and I won't spend it a second time. Tonight is only the story, what we actually saw up in the sky that dragged us, against every last instinct, to believe a thing that wild. So let me show you what the stretching does to your light, to your precious barcode. And I'll draw it for you, so you can watch it happen with your own eyes.
Draw it then. All right, show me on the elastic sheet.
Ink a little wave straight onto that elastic before you stretch it. A neat row of humps and troughs, crest, dip, marching along. That drawn wave is your light. Now, take the two edges and stretch the sheet good and wide. What happens to the humps?
The humps spread. The crests slide apart from one another. Every peak ends up further from the next peak than it started out. The whole wave gets drawn out long, like it's been laid on a rack and pulled.
Drawn out long on the rack of growing space. And a wave of light with its crests spread wide is a long wave, a stretched wave. And a longer wave of light is a redder wave, always. That's simply what red is at the far low end. So the stretch of the sheet and the reddening of the light are not two separate events. They are one single act, seen twice over. Stretch the floor the wave is drawn on, and the wave reddens, because it hasn't the smallest choice in the matter.
So the red isn't the galaxy's doing at all, it's the road's doing. The wave got pulled out long because the paper it was printed on got pulled out long underneath it, the whole way here to my eye.
The paper got pulled out long underneath it. That is the entire mechanism, in a single pen stroke, and you just drew it yourself on a bit of elastic. A wave leaves the galaxy short, sets off across the enormous gulf, and every age it spends in flight, the space beneath it swells a little more. So it arrives at your eye long, reddened, not hurled at any speed, stretched by the road it walked.
So it is the ambulance then, near enough. The galaxy racing off into the distance, stretching its light out long behind it as it flees.
No. And this, Alice, is the trap. The very one. The whole reason I made you set the balloon down and wait for it. Feel the difference, because absolutely everything hangs on it. The ambulance moves through the air, a solid thing travelling across the room, from here to there, past your ear. But the galaxy is not racing through space. It's barely moving through space at all. It's a napping ant. The space between you and it is being made, all along the road, the entire time the light is crossing.
So the two look completely identical in my eye, a red barcode. Either way, same colour, same slide, but underneath one is a solid thing running off through space, and the other is the space itself, quietly growing under a light that's only trying to get home.
Only trying to get home, and stretched by the road the whole long while it walks. Same red landing in your eye. Two utterly different causes standing behind it. So never ever let the ambulance talk you back into galaxies as racing cars. That's the reading that feels right and is wrong to the bone. The red is not a speed. The red is a stretch. Say it once, plainly, so it sets hard.
The red is not a speed, the red is a stretch. The light didn't run itself ragged racing here to me. It got pulled long, like taffy, like a piece of toffee drawn out slow between two hands, by the sheer growing of the space it had to cross to reach my eye.
Now, look what that hands you. Before you throw the whole "we smell" business out the window, look what falls straight into your lap for nothing at all. The one thing the running away picture could never once explain, this new picture gives you free, without your even asking for it. Why does further mean more red? Why did distance look for all the world like a whip?
Because it isn't a whip. Say it. No, let me say it, because I can nearly see the whole thing now.
Go on then. It's yours to say. You drew the wave.
Distance isn't a whip. Distance is a dose. The further off the galaxy sits, the longer its light's been out on the road to reach me. And the longer it's on the road, the more stretching space it drinks before it lands. It's not that the far galaxies run any faster than the near ones. It's that their light spent longer soaking in the stretch. And the whole strange rule, the far means faster, that made no sense as running, it just falls straight out, for free. Not because I said so, because the road said so.
Because the road said so. It falls out whole and clean, and it never once asks you to pay for it. No whip, no smell, no crowd bolting from a fire. Only light, drinking the growth of space on its long walk to your eye, and the far light drinking deeper because it walked the road longer. And now at last, you may pick the balloon back up off the table. You've earned it, honestly, brick by patient brick.
Oh, thank goodness. I've had my hand creeping toward it under the table this whole time. Right, so, the dots are the galaxies. That much I had at 3 in the morning. And the rubber is...
The rubber is space. Say it slowly and mean it, because the rubber being space is the whole entire thing. The rubber is space itself. And here's what your fingers understood at that unholy hour before your head had caught them up. The dots do not move across the rubber. They're painted on, glued down flat. Not one of them crawls so much as a hair's breadth along the surface. They couldn't if they tried their hardest. They're ink.
And yet, when I blew the thing up...
And yet you blow, and the rubber grows, and every dot sails away from every other dot regardless. Carried, never once walking. Your 2 napping ants wrapped round onto a curved sheet, and every pair of them driven apart by the growing skin beneath them.
And the far ones went fastest, the bit that properly stumped me at the kitchen table, turning it over like a fool at 3 in the morning. But now, oh, of course. 2 dots close together have only a scrap of rubber between them, so a little stretch nudges them apart only a little. But 2 dots far apart have a great long run of rubber between them, and all of it is growing at once, every inch adding up, so they're shoved apart much, much faster. More rubber between them, more of it growing, faster the fleeing.
There is your far means faster, born again in a party balloon, and not a whip nor a smell anywhere in sight. The rule you couldn't explain as running is the plainest thing in the world as stretching. And now, the question you turned that balloon over and over hunting for, at 3 in the morning, and could not for the life of you find the answer to. Which dot is the center? Which single dot is all the rest of them fleeing from?
There isn't one. That's what did my head in and sent my neck cold. I looked and I looked and I looked. Every dot sees every other dot running away from it. So if I sat myself down on any dot at all, pick one, doesn't matter a jot which, I'd see the exact same thing. The whole balloon fleeing away from me. Every dot is the center of its own fleeing sky, which means...
Which means?
Which means not one of them is. If everybody's the center, then nobody is. There's no special dot anywhere on the whole surface. We were never the smelly one at all. Every galaxy out there sees precisely what we see. The whole sky running away, the far ones fastest, and every single one of them could sit there at 3 in their own morning, feeling every bit as unpopular as I did, and every single one of them would be just as flat, completely wrong as I was.
Every one of them just as wrong, and every one of them just as much at home. Nobody flees anybody. The rubber grows, and everybody rides, and no one is chased. There is no center to the fleeing, because the fleeing was never, ever about a center. It was about the rubber, everywhere, growing all at once.
All right, but let me try to wriggle back to being special one last way, because I'm nothing if not stubborn. What if we're not the center, but we got shoved once, some enormous blast long ago, and everything's flying off away from us, like shrapnel from a bomb, like debris flung out across a room? Wouldn't that also look, from where I'm standing, like a fleeing sky?
A shrewd wriggle, and worth answering properly, because a great many clever people wriggled exactly that way. And there's a clean way to kill it stone dead. If it were debris flung from a blast, the pieces would stream away from the place the bomb went off. There'd be a direction to the whole thing, that way it came from, pieces thinning out on one side and crowding up on the other. So look up. Is there? Is there a direction to it?
No, there isn't. They flee every which way at once, up, down, sideways, behind me, all of it, and evenly, the same in each direction. No favored line, no, that way it all came streaming from. The reddening's the same wherever I point the thing, whichever way I turn.
The same wherever you point, and that even every direction fleeing is not the fingerprint of debris hurled outward from a point. Debris has a direction. This has none whatsoever. It's the fingerprint of dough rising, of rubber growing, everywhere at once, from no point at all, because there was no point for it to be thrown from. Tuck that away somewhere safe, by the way. It matters more than you can possibly guess, a night or two further down this road.
I'll tuck it. No blast, no bomb, no direction, no debris streaming from a spot. Every way at once, evenly, from nowhere in particular. Right, filed.
Now, let me guard you against the one single place this balloon will lie straight to your face. Because it is a good picture, a true one, but every good picture lies in exactly one spot, and you have to know precisely where the lie is buried, or one fine day it will turn round and bite you.
Here it comes. Where does my duck balloon lie to me?
You're holding it. You can see the whole balloon sitting there in your hand, and a kitchen all around it. Air outside the rubber, a lungful of your own breath sealed up inside. So your instinct leans in and whispers, the universe must be like this too. A ball of space swelling outward into some bigger emptiness with an edge somewhere out past the very last galaxy, and beyond the edge, somewhere for it all to grow into. Do you feel that picture tugging at your sleeve?
I do, badly. I can't help it. There's got to be an outside, surely. A balloon grows out into the kitchen. So, what does the universe grow out into? What's the kitchen for the whole universe?
Nothing. And I don't mean it grows out into empty space. I mean there is no into at all. None. The word simply doesn't apply. Here's the discipline, and it is a hard one to hold in your head. The whole universe is only the surface of the balloon. Only the rubber skin, that one thin curved sheet, and nothing else whatsoever. Not the air sealed inside, not the kitchen outside. Those two things simply do not exist. There is no inside and there is no outside. There is only the skin.
Only the skin. And everything there is lives in the skin. Nothing off it at all, in any direction I might point.
Nothing off it. An ant living flat in that surface, a proper flat ant, with no notion of up off the sheet, can set off walking in a dead straight line and walk forever and never once meet an edge. Never find a rim where the rubber stops and something else begins. There is no rim, and there's no center for it to find anywhere on the skin either, search as it might, its whole life long.
Because the middle of the balloon, the place I keep desperately wanting to point my finger at and call the center,
isn't on the surface at all, is it? It's off in that sealed inside we've just this minute agreed flatly doesn't exist. So when this thing grows, it is not a ball swelling out into a waiting kitchen. It's every stretch of the skin, everywhere, quietly getting longer all at once. More rubber all over, all the time, and no outside anywhere for it to reach into, because there is no outside to be had.
So I have to throw the kitchen away, and the sealed inside, and keep nothing at all but the skin, and live inside the skin, and there's no edge anywhere to walk to, and no middle anywhere to point at. And when the whole thing grows, it isn't growing into anywhere, because there's no anywhere for it to grow into. It's just becoming more of itself, everywhere, all the time. That is a very hard thought to hold without it sliding straight out of my hands.
It is the hardest thought in the room, and it will slide out of your hands 100 times, and you'll pick it back up 100 times, and that's the work. More of itself, everywhere, all the time, with nowhere else to be. No center, no edge, no outside. And if the balloon's got you in a tangle, throw the balloon out too, and take a loaf of bread down off the shelf instead.
Of course, naturally, from the party balloon straight to the bakery. This is a remarkably well-catered branch of physics, I have to say. Go on, give me the bread.
Raisin bread, rising slow in a warm oven. The raisins are your galaxies, the dough all around them is your space. As the loaf rises, the dough swells everywhere at once, all through itself, and every raisin drifts steadily away from every other raisin. And the raisins on opposite ends of the loaf drift apart the fastest of all, because there's the most rising dough lying in between them to do the pushing. And no raisin sits at the center of the loaf's rising.
Pick any raisin you like, sit yourself down on it, look about you, and every other raisin is quietly backing away in every direction. Same truth, second kitchen. And I notice you're keeping all the raisins the same size. They don't puff up. Only the dough between them does the growing.
You've leapt clean ahead to a thing I was saving for later, and it's a good, sharp leap. But hold it just one moment, because there's an honest wrinkle I have to lay down first, before you run off with the raisins. I've been saying almost every galaxy is red. Almost. I have been careful all night not to say all.
Not all. Something's coming at us. But I thought the whole grand shining point was that the entire sky flees us in every direction at once.
The whole sky flees, in the large, in the grand sweep of things, across the enormous gulfs. But the galaxies aren't only riding the stretch of the rubber. They can also, on top of the riding, drift a little under their own steam, a real, honest, ordinary motion through space, an actual step taken across the rubber, tugged along by the gravity of some big, bright neighbor close at hand.
And for most galaxies, that little private drift is nothing at all beside the great stretch carrying them off.
Nothing beside it. A single step against a stampede, so the red wins, hands down, and you never even notice the step. But for the very nearest galaxies, the ones held close to us by gravity, with barely any stretched-out road lying between us and them, that little private motion can be the bigger of the two effects. And our nearest great neighbor, as it happens, isn't fleeing us at all. It's falling toward us. Its light comes in shifted the other way entirely, toward the blue.
So after all of that, after the entire sky bolting for the exits, the nearest one is actually, quietly, coming round to visit.
Coming round to visit, in the fullness of an absolutely enormous amount of time. Gravity holds the near things close, and even reels a few of them slowly in over the ages. The stretching only truly wins out there, across the vast gulfs, between galaxies with no bond whatsoever between them, where there's road enough for the growing of space to utterly drown any little private step a galaxy might take.
So the one blue neighbor isn't a crack in the story. It's not the loose thread that brings the whole picture down round our ears.
It's the story told honestly, cracks and all. Don't ever let anyone tell you every last dot in the sky is reddened. It isn't, and the truth is far better than the tidy version. The systematic thing. Everything far, all fleeing, the far ones fastest, the whole clean, ruler-straight rule holding right across the sky. That is the stretch of the rubber showing through. The one blue neighbor is merely a raisin that happened to roll a single step toward you, while the whole great loaf rose steadily around it.
All right, now you'll let me back to my raisins, staying the same size, because it plants a question in me that I simply cannot leave alone. If space itself is growing everywhere, all the time, in every gap, then is this room growing? Is my kitchen table growing? Am I growing? Are we all quietly, politely getting bigger every second and just too well-mannered to bring it up over breakfast?
The question everyone asks the very instant the penny drops, and the answer is a small marvel all of its own. No, not the table, not you, not even the whole galaxy you're sitting in. And the reason is one single word. Those things are held.
Held. Held by what, though?
The table is held together by the forces knitting its atoms one to the next. Grips mightier by a country mile than the faint, far-off stretch of space out there. You are held together the very same way, every atom of you clasping its neighbors tight. The galaxy's held together by its own gravity, hand over hand over hand, all its stars pulling steadily inward. And anywhere at all that anything is holding on, a chemical bond, a force, a grip of gravity, the holding wins easily, hands down, and nothing grows.
So the stretch only ever gets its way where absolutely nothing at all is holding on.
Only out in the great empty gulfs between the galaxies, where nothing whatever is gripping, where there's no bond and no grip for it to overpower. That is the only place in all creation where space is free to grow unopposed. Not in your kitchen. Your kitchen is far too tightly held together for that. Out there in the vast between. The raisins keep their size to the very last, only the open dough runs on.
But then, hang on, one more, because you've started a thought I can't stop now. Where does the new space even come from? If there's more of it out there every single second, filling out those gulfs, what's it made of? Is something pouring it in from a tank somewhere behind the scenes?
Nothing is pouring it in. There's no tank of spare space behind the curtain, no hidden spout, no reservoir being quietly drained to fill the gaps. And that is the very last thing the balloon tempts you into believing. That space is a stuff, a kind of invisible fluid, being topped up from outside like water running into a bath.
It's not a stuff, but you keep saying more space, space being made. That sounds like a stuff to me, like there's more of something tonight than there was last night.
I know it does, and the words are a trap I've walked you into on purpose, so I could pull you back out. More space only ever means one plain thing. Distances grow. The gap between two far galaxies is a longer gap tomorrow than today. Not because a delivery of fresh space arrived overnight in a lorry, but because how far apart they are is itself the thing that changes. There is nothing to pour and nowhere to pour it from. Only further and further, wherever there's no grip to hold the two ends fast.
So space being made is really only distances quietly getting longer. The very same plain idea dressed up in a much fancier coat.
A far fancier coat, and it has fooled a great many clever people into hunting high and low for the tank. Keep the plain version pinned to your wall where you can see it. Distances grow. That is every last thing the expansion has ever meant. Not a fluid, not a stuff, not a bath being filled. Just the gaps, growing, out where nothing holds them shut.
Distances grow. That one I can hold without it sliding out of my hands. The gaps get longer, out where nothing's holding them shut.
The gaps get longer where nothing's holding them shut. Forever, everywhere at once, in a universe that is quietly, ceaselessly widening its own great empty rooms. And now sit in that a moment, Alice, properly sit in it, because I think it's the thing you actually carried down the stairs tonight in your two cupped hands and hadn't yet found the words for.
Say it for me then. I can feel the shape of it, but I can't quite get my mouth round it.
We do not live in a finished universe. We do not stand on a great still stage that holds itself dead level while we act out our little scene across the top of it. We live inside something that is growing. Right now, this very second, while the two of us sit here talking. Between here and every far light hanging in the sky, new distance is quietly opening up, and the whole vast web of galaxies is being carried gently apart on the tide of it, further tonight than it was last night.
The floor was moving the whole time, and I drew it on a party balloon on my kitchen floor in the dead middle of the night, and I didn't for one single second believe my own two hands.
Believe them now. And then do the one thing that is left to do with a universe you have just caught red-handed in the very act of growing. Take the whole of that slow-moving picture and run it backward.
Backward. Wind the film the other way round. Run the growing in reverse.
Wind it back. If everything is drifting apart, and further apart, and further apart still, with every age that passes, then a year ago it was all a touch closer together. And 1,000 ages back, closer still. And a very great deal further back than that, closer yet. And keep on winding. The galaxies come rushing back in toward one another, the gulfs shrinking down, the rubber unstretching, the raisins crowding back into the closing dough. Everything drawing in, closer and denser and hotter.
Hotter? Now why does it go and get hotter when all I've done is wind the film back?
Cram anything at all into a smaller space, and it heats. You felt a bicycle pump go warm against your own hand as you squeezed the air down inside it. Squeeze the whole universe together, and it does the very same, on a scale past all imagining. But that's tomorrow night's fire, not tonight's, so let it lie quiet for now. Keep winding the film. Every galaxy in the whole sky rushes home, and it all draws in and in and in into...
Into what? Say it. Don't leave me hanging on the stair.
Into something impossibly crowded, impossibly hot, impossibly dense. Everywhere at once, mind you, with no center to fall toward and no edge to fall from. All of space squeezed down to a single fierce, bright, blazing everywhere. And that, Alice, that crowded, blazing beginning, waiting at the far end of the rewind, is not the end of our story at all. It is the very place the story truly starts.
So the reddening I couldn't sleep on was never the sky running away from us at all. It was the whole universe growing, everywhere, no center, no edge, no smelly middle for anything to flee from. And every stretched out barcode was only light, drinking the growth of the road on its long, long walk to my waiting eye. I came down these stairs tonight dead certain I'd learned that we were unpopular, and I'm climbing back up having learned we're nowhere special at all. In the very best way there has ever been.
Nowhere special, and everywhere at home. That was the gift the balloon slipped quietly into your hand before I'd said a single word. You just didn't know yet that you were holding it.
And that if I take the whole thing and run it backward, it all comes rushing home to a fire at the beginning of time, which you are, I can see it plain on your face, going to leave me at the top of the stairs to lie awake over. Again. You do this every single time, George.
I do, and I'll not apologize for it. Wind it all the way back to that fire, and next time you and I will stand as close to it as anyone living can bear to stand. The hot, dense beginning of everything. What it truly was, and just as much, what it truly was not. Because nearly everyone who says its name pictures the wrong thing entirely, and getting it wrong is the whole reason it's worth a night all its own. Bring the balloon. We'll be wanting the duck.
I'll bring the balloon, and I'll spend the entire climb up the stairs trying to picture a fire with no room around it and no outside for it to burn into. Everywhere at once, and nowhere at all to stand and watch it from. And getting it wrong, and starting over, and getting it wrong again the whole way up. No center, no edge, just the beginning, waiting patiently at the far end of the rewind, for whenever I'm brave enough to come back down and look it square in the eye. Good night, George.